Welcome to Mastering the Next, a cutting-edge podcast that explores the future of graduate, online, and non-traditional education through the lens of AI and technology. I'm your host, Dr. Ray Lutsky, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at Element 451. Join me every 2 weeks for discussions with some of the thought leaders shaping the future of graduate enrollment management through technology. Mastering the Next is a part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform that helps institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. Creating consistent graduate student communications to improve admissions and retention for on and off-campus and online students can be a challenge, particularly with constantly evolving tools and channels. Building a successful communications plan takes a lot of behind-the-scenes work and an understanding of how to harness the power of digital media. Kittie Pain, Director of Graduate Admissions at Kutztown University, is a past member of the Board of Directors of NAGAP and currently serves on their Marketing and Communications Committee and Publications Committee. She's here to help us demystify the world of graduate student communications. Welcome to the podcast, Kittie.
Thank you.
So, from your experience working at multiple institutions, working with NAGAP, what's next for graduate enrollment communications?
That's a loaded question, Ray. And what I'd like to do is actually take a step back. When I started in this organization and in this profession, it was long before websites were really our marketing tool. And we had to purchase names to do mailings on our own, dotting the cards to hope that somebody filled out and gave back to you. And over the years, I've been able to see how we've worked in different email communications, but I'm still a strong believer in cutting through the noise with some direct mailings as well. So in today's market, what I do is work on our communication plans with my faculty, who are the program directors. They know the content of their program inside and out. They are passionate about serving our students and finding the right fit. I also try to make sure that I'm hearing the questions that students are asking. So when I'm delivering information, it's pertinent to them making their decision. And that changes. So I am, for instance, going to be working on an overhaul because I've had my communication plan set for about 2 years and haven't done enough of an overhaul. And I think that's important for people to also take into consideration. We are never set it and forget it.
That makes a lot of sense. And I want to kind of double click on something you just said about working with faculty. Given all the changes that have occurred since paper mailings and things like that, I know you worked with radio and lots of other kinds of media. Do you ever have to have a discussion with folks about the appropriate channel? And when they have a suggestion about, well, I'd like to do a mailing, or, well, I'd like to have a billboard. How do you go about having that conversation about the updated communication tools that you might think are better utilized?
Also a really good question. So thank you. We try to use examples that are relevant to them. For instance, our subject lines shouldn't be our university names over and over again. And I used the example on a very famous coffee chain. And as soon as I said, if your subject line comes up about the rewards program, you're more likely to open that. It started to open their eyes. So we talked that through of, well, who is the person in your classroom? What do you maybe love most about that cohort that just came through? What are the conversations that they're bringing forward? How can we maybe address this in today's market? We have programs that are completely on board because they've done their own research, or they're part of national organizations that are also talking about this. We have other programs that are in silos because of the industries, but that's not a product of them. Again, it's the product of the industry that they're in.
That connection between industry and what's going on at universities has been a theme in a lot of the conversations I've been having here. And it speaks to the idea that looking for innovation, looking for the next channel, the next way of getting your message out there is probably on the minds of a lot of graduate enrollment professionals. What advice do you have in terms of how to evaluate the effectiveness of a method of reaching students, especially if it's something new, like a chatbot or something like that?
We rely heavily on the technology because we can only see so much. So if they're not clicking a call to action, then I have to rely on the embedded data that is going to be provided to me. You hope that that person answers the question on the application of how did you hear about us, this program, etc. But they don't. They also are stealth shoppers, so they're not going to tell you how they came to you. So we rely heavily on the data that we're finding, and our vendor partners are there for a reason. They are helping us to get to that bottom line, and they are also able to evaluate things in real time and then help us shift that. So let me go back to when I said we would buy names and dot the postcards and send them out. We couldn't adjust that if that wasn't working. And now today in our electronic age, we could even adjust some mailings more quickly, seeing who's coming in from what regions, areas, zip codes that we couldn't do in years past.
That speaks to the idea of having a communications plan and updating it. And you just mentioned you're about to go through that exercise. What are some of the steps you go through when you evaluate the effectiveness of one plan and think about creating the next one?
Whoa, okay. That I wasn't prepared for.
Sorry.
Again, it comes down to listening. If more questions are coming up in our email or through phone calls, then clearly we're not answering the questions that they need to have answered. I'm even thinking about delivery times and how we need to maybe time out things a little bit sooner rather than later. And even involving other people on campus to start building those community relationships. So I think evaluating for Kutztown, the effectiveness would be to help mitigate the volume of external questions, because we should be delivering the answers in a way that they shouldn't have to go looking for them.
Wow. So being able to determine whether the right information is included in your communications as a way to prevent unnecessary duplication or inbound communications that are maybe answering the same question over and over again.
Yes, pretty much.
So use your crystal ball for us for a minute and think about, based on your experience working with all kinds of channels and media and looking at what's effective and what's not in graduate recruitment, graduate enrollment across modalities, where do you see things moving in terms of, if I were to make a communications plan 3, 4, 5 years from now, what might that look like? What are the tactics and channels that are going to be added or making the biggest impact?
Mm-hmm. So we actually don't leverage text messaging, and we should, because people are on their phones constantly. It is the stream that they're living and dying by. And so I think a lot more push notification, text messaging, branding, because a foreign number to somebody, they're not going to even pay attention to the message I'm delivering. Email will continue to be a channel, unfortunately, and the social media channels are going to evolve, and especially how we're delivering to them. That's just, it's an industry that changes but isn't going away. And so I think we have to kind of change with it. And then I'm still going to cut through the noise by doing some mailing, because it will eventually get through to the people that I need to get through to. The people that have seen these ads, have gotten the push notifications, I've seen the emails. We do a lot of redirect marketing, retargeting. I think we'll continue to kind of be that channel too. But underlying all of it is going to be the story. And so we can use these channels, but to do the communications, we're going to have to tell a story. And the story is going to be that persona of who looks like me that's going to be sitting in that classroom. My crystal ball also says, again, don't sit and forget it. So in 2.5 years, check in with me, because I think that we're going to be talking about different channels, different even social media tools that we're going to be using.
I will take you up on that. And I think that's a great place to end this conversation. Kittie Pain, Director of Graduate Admissions at Kutztown University. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Thank you.
The Mastering the Next podcast is a part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Artis Cadieux, J.C. Bonilla, Mallory Wilsey, Brendan Henkel, Brian Gross, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.